ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk about how the public sector is spearheading the way in positioning the Malaysian IVV industry in the global map. Before I go into the details, word of caution, I will be coughing along the way. I've got a very bad cough. Please bear with me. Okay? Alright. About 8 or 9 years ago, the Malaysian government set its sights on creating a new industry, which is the software testing services industry. Yeah? And as a new source of growth for the nation, just after the 2007-2008 crisis. Yeah? So since then, it has been about close to about 10 years. I'll take you to what the public sector has done over the years, and what it is doing now, and what it has its plans for the future. And that will be the contents of my keynote address today. Now, to set the context, this is a study done by Technovio about 5 years ago, in 2013. As you can see on the chart, the global software testing services was valued at US 41.84 billion, and it was expected at that point in time to reach about almost close to 71 billion by 2018, with a CAGR, or compounded annual growth rate, of about 11.15%. Recently they have revised those figures, and the CAGR is expected to rise up to 15% during the 2018 to 2022. And for Malaysia, that's a huge market out there for it to tap into. And in the report, the previous report, there was also it also identified the most favored outsourcing destination for global companies in software testing, and Malaysia is one of the countries other than China, India, and Vietnam. And as far as the Malaysian initiatives go, after the government's decision to nurture this industry, this whole project, or this whole program started in 2009. It was a collaboration between the government and the private sector through MSCB, which is Malaysia Software Testing Board, delivering practice. And in this program, I think most of you all, or some or if not most of you all will know that back in 2009 when we started this program, we had those 4 pillars there. This is QCAP, Q Industry, Q Lab, and Q Portal. And QCAP was supposed to go into training and certification to produce certified testers. QCAP stands for Capability Development. And Q Industry is to create awareness about the software testing, training, and accreditation. And then you have the Q Lab, which is a software testing facility. I think most of you all know that we have a full-fledged, state-of-the-art lab in Puchong. And the other one is the portal, where you can get connected to software professionals and testers in the industry. And about 3 years ago, in 2015, we also created, or MSCB, we created the COE Center of Excellence. That the purpose is to engage stakeholders of the Malaysian software testing ecosystem. Next, software testing, the 11th Malaysia Plan. As you all know, the 11th now, Malaysia is in the midst of executing the 11th Malaysia Plan, which runs from 2016 to 2020. The government, the EPU, is now doing a midterm review to see how we are performing in the last 2.5 years or so. And it is to be noted that when Malaysia drew up the 11th Malaysia Plan, it is clearly stated in Chapter 15 of that book, the 11th Malaysia Plan, to complement the software development, software testing will be developed as a new source of economic growth through the Malaysia Software Testing Initiative. So there's no doubt about Malaysia being serious about enhancing the software testing industry. It's already in the plan, and if it's already in the plan, it will definitely monitor. And secondly, is this will enable local players to drive revenue growth and achieve market leadership within the industry. The target is for the country to capture about 5% of the global revenue. Now, it's also stated in the 11th Malaysia Plan, there are 4 strategies as listed here in positioning Malaysia as a preferred software testing destination. The first strategy talks about creating higher value software testing services at lower cost, while the second one talks about developing the local market. The third one is on raising the local flagship companies, and finally to build the talent pool. Let me go into the details of each one of these strategies. For high value software testing services at lower cost, there are 2 programs that we have. First is qualification for IVV and providers, and the second one is to establish a code without or a field code. This is something that is, I'm sure the industry will know what it means. I'll go into it in a short while for IVV procurement. Now, for qualification for IVV providers, the government has stipulated that you have to fulfill certain criteria before you can provide these services for ICT contracts for government. First and foremost is you have to be either accredited, having MSI C10025 or TMMI level 3 and above. This is very clear. If you don't have any one of these, then you won't be able to participate in government jobs. This is to show that the government gets to get a minimum level of competence from the industry to provide these services. And secondly, the other one is of course CMMI level 3, and mind you, these 2 stipulated criteria is only temporary. And temporary in the sense that it's a bit loose, so that you would be able to come on board. But we are looking at 2020, where we will tighten this further, as I think was highlighted by one of the speakers just now. I think it was John without the H, where you talked about 29119. Probably we will go to that. We are seriously considering making that as the criteria for companies to provide these services. And as of today, we have got 4 companies that have been accredited with ISO 17025. While for TMMI level 3 and above, we have got 8. So all in all, we have about 12 companies which are ready to provide these services. And I would like to caution that this is temporary. You have to get yourself prepared to go on to the next level of quality. The second one is establishing a code without for IVV procurement. If you want to provide services for the Malaysian government, you must be registered. It is a condition that you must be registered with the Ministry of Finance. And to be registered with the Ministry of Finance, you must be registered under a specific code. This is what it means by code without a field code. So, and you have to fulfill certain criteria. Okay. As of now, we don't have that. But for all other ICT procurement, you have to be registered with MOF, because that is part and parcel of ICT procurement guidelines. And we are working with Treasury, probably next year or so. We will create the so-called new code so that you can then register yourself. Of course, before you register yourself, you have to fulfill the conditions laid down by Treasury, so that we are in line with the ICT procurement guidelines. Next is developing the market. For developing the market, we have two programs here. One is a public sector software testing program, and the other one is requirement to perform IVV ICT procurement circular. Let me go into the details of each one of these. Now, to develop the local market, the government took it upon itself to take the lead. So what it did was, it had to first and foremost, it had to educate or to initiate the public sector agencies on what this software testing is all about. Why do we need this in the first place? So what we did is, together with MSCB, we ran a program for about 2 years. That's from 2014 to 2016. We selected about eight projects, which involves 6 government agencies, to get that initiated into what software testing is all about. By just talking to them alone was not enough. They couldn't understand why we are doing all these things. So we took them through real-life projects. We allocated some budget for it, so they went through the whole process. And at the end of it, we found out that we got about 44 lessons learned, which led to 8 recommendations. And these recommendations were shared with all other government agencies. And I'm glad to say that all these 6 agencies that came on board, they found the value. Why we need to do IVV. There were so many things that were not right, in quotes, not right with the vendors whom we engaged to do the original software development work. When this IVV was done, they could see where are the gaps, where we need to improve, where we need to fix, so that we get a better quality product coming out of this whole ICT procurement process. And secondly, to develop the local market, the government, through MAMPU, MAMPU is the central agency which has been entrusted or responsible for the ICT development and implementation of ICT projects in the government sector. If any government agency wants to do any ICT project, you have to come to MAMPU to get approval. Without that, you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to get the money. You won't be able to get anything like that. So we have made sure that the circular on ICT procurement, we have put into specific clauses to ensure that critical and high-impact public sector ICT projects need to implement IVV, and the IVV provider should be accredited by the Department of Services. As I said just now, as of now, when you get yourself accredited by the Department of Services, you have to be either you have to have the ISO. It's ISO IC 775 or 3. Next. To raise the local flagship companies, we have 2 programs here, awareness and cluster companies and fierce product scheme. Now, on the awareness and cluster companies, the government is conducting continuous programs to provide awareness to industries on IVV and implementation public sector projects, and so nurturing cluster companies to be qualified as IVV providers. I'm sure all those who have been involved in this industry, through MSCB, we have run a lot of engagement programs. In fact, a program like this is a software testing conference which MSCB has been running for the last, this is about the 11th one. Someone, the same thing, 11 number, so 11 is so part of the engagement And of course, it has gone on road shows right from north to the south, also to East Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak. And that is going on continuously. And they have, MSCB has also done a lot in nurturing cluster companies to be qualified as IVV provider. Because without these companies, the government won't be able to run its projects. They need those companies out there. Next is to raise the flagship to local flagship companies. We have also come up with the QS product scheme, which is a quality software product certification. Currently, MSCB is the certification body for the QS product scheme. And as listed there, some of the benefits of to software development vendors. First and foremost, a software product. Once you have the QS seal there, it can be purchasers of this software. They have the confidence that the software products are getting international recognized certificate of quality, and of course, you gain customer confidence. And we will also be able to improve the marketability domestically and internationally, and also to strengthen the position in the marketplace. You know, you also support the product and enjoy tax incentives applicable. Now, as of now, the government has not imposed any conditions on a product, whatever the company or when we work with the industry to maintain that we have this QS. But I'm already working with my people so that we can make this mandatory maybe from next year onwards. We want to work with Treasury so that the government can be assured that it is getting a product like this of high quality, which is internationally recognized. Of course, we won't make it mandatory for all. We will start off for the more critical projects, which are more generic in nature, so that the government can then work with the private sector, so that the private sector, together with the private sector, these so-called generic products can then become marketable. Because you know it is implemented in the public sector. It's a working solution. Next, on building the talent pool, as of now, as of 2017, I don't have the figures for 2018, but just now, one was rightly said during the opening address that we have got about 8,000. So I would think that, but this is based on 2017, so the number is actually keeping on increasing. At the public sector, we have about slightly more than 600 crore personnel certified as certified nurses or engineers, while the private sector has got about 5,000. And on top of that, to build the talent pool, we are also working with both the public and the private sector. Both the public and the private universities and academic outreach program. As of now, we have got 24 universities whom we collaborate with in software testing, and for requirements engineering, we have got about 21 universities. This includes both public and private. So we work with them so that they can include as part of their curriculum software testing requirement engineering, so that the graduates who come out from the universities will be able to have a good grasp of what software testing is all about, or requirements engineering is all about. Next, I want to highlight your specifically what MAMPU as a central agency that is entrusted to oversee the development and implementation of ICT projects is doing. Because that our MAMPU is the final approving authority. We have in 2015 set up a center of excellence. We call it MyTCUE, My Sense for Malaysia, Malaysian Public Sector Testing Center of Excellence, MyTCUE, in 2015. Now it has got three main objectives. First is and foremost is it is the reference center for public sector software quality assurance. And secondly, it is the advisory and consulting service provider on SPA for government agencies. And thirdly, it provides guidelines and policies on IVV. And it is already operational. I've got about close to about 10 people working full time on it. And here it shows the ecosystem of MyTCOE. You've got three sectors there: the academic sector, the industry that refers to the private sector, and we've got the public sector. In this whole ecosystem, for the public sector will creates the demand for IMB services. It creates the demand through public sector ICT projects by mandating that these are the projects that are deemed as critical or high impact or large and complex, and we mandate. So we create the demand for services. Secondly, it collects data and metrics on SPA in the public sector. As was highlighted by all the three speakers before me, Eric, John and John, and one with the H, the other one without the H, on the importance of evidence. It shouldn't be based on opinion, right? So how do you get evidence? Evidence comes from these metrics, real life projects that we carry out. We get all these things on board, and we are going to collect all these things, not for safekeeping, but to do the analytics that all the three speakers talked about, so that we would be able to, as we move along, there's continuous improvement in the quality of the product that is being developed and implemented. And thirdly, it provides relevant data and information. I've already said this now. Okay, now for the academic sector, what the government wants them to do is, we want them to look at the curriculum to produce highly competent graduates in software testing. Right now, of course, it is through this ICTB programs. So you've got the CTFL, CTAL, and the likes. But we also want the academic, the public and private sectors, we to have specific modules of courses so that they are exposed to this. Secondly, we want them to perform research and development in the public sector. We want to work, the public sector wants to work closely with the academic sector so that this R&D is done. R&D is done so that it's always a continuous process. And thirdly, industry or the private sector, we expect more players to come on board to offer IVV services, trainings, and knowledge of technology sharing. As you keep on building up your capacity and capability, you will then be able to advise, give inputs and opinions to the public sector to further improve the way we perform IVV services. And secondly, to provide consultation and implementation. And thirdly, to provide job opportunities as SPA, including internship programs. You find that, so all these three parties are supposed to work together. The academic or the public sector may want to send their personnel or their graduates or their undergraduates to these companies for internship programs. So of course, you have to prove yourself first. Okay. Next. The government through Mampu and the collaboration of MSC, the University of Memphis, we have come out with the IVV handbook. And the purpose of this handbook is firstly to be the principal reference for public sector agencies in the implementation of IVV services. Now, because this is something that's new, so the agencies, they need some reference. So for that, we have we have come out with this book, and we have already published it, and it is on our website, Mampu portal, www.mampu.gov.my. You can go and have a look at it. And it provides the necessary processes and guidelines for IVV engagement. When an agency wants to engage an IVV service provider, what it has to do, the process and the guidelines to adhere to. And thirdly, to enable the agency to effectively collaborate with IVV providers. Collaborating with the IVV providers is a bit different from the normal ICT procurement jobs. So this particular handbook provides them the guidance. And for the private sector or the IVV players, you can also refer to this book on how the government conducts. It's the way it wants to engage, so it will also be helpful to you. Next, the government will also working with the Ministry of Finance to further refine the ICT procurement circular. Now, currently, as I highlighted to you a while ago in a few slides before this, the current circular that is in force is the PK2013. That is a circular that came out in 2013. This year we expect a new circular to come out. We will override the existing circular. This particular circular, it actually is a big overhaul on the ICT procurement guidelines. And we have taken the opportunity, my team has taken the opportunity to also include a new chapter into this ICT procurement. We call it a chapter on IVV procurement. Before this, we only had 2 clauses, but now we have a specific a chapter addressing IVV procurement in the public sector. It talks about, in fact, it's ready. It is already in the final draft. We have already submitted it to Treasury. I expect in the before the end of the year, that new procurement circular will be out. So this particular chapter on IVV procurement, first it gives a clear description of what critical high impact projects are. It is going to mandate that if a project is to be it fulfills the criteria for critical and high impact projects, you have to do third-party testing, IVV. And second thing is, after you have selected that, how do you plan for IVV procurement in terms of how do you scope it, and then how do you calculate the budget and estimate of it, and what is the approval process that you want to go to, and also the field code which relates to Ministry of Finance requirements. We also have clauses related to a criteria for IVV providers. You cannot be choosing anybody who is out there, who claims to be an IVV provider. No. We will we are very specific on who would qualify to become an IVV provider. And fourthly, it is the procurement process. How do you go about procurement process? And finally, contract management. We have to address this contract management here because of the fact that the way that we manage IVV contracts will be a little bit different from the normal contracts, because this contract will have to tie back to the main contractor who is doing the development work. So how do we synchronize this? So that this particular chapter addresses all these things. So this will be a clear guide for the agencies and for the industry out there. Of course, you can. This will be available in the public domain. You can read through that and you see how the government goes about doing this procurement. Next is mandating ICT projects which need IVV in the public sector. Now, at Mampu, we have got a specific committee called JTISA, which is JTISA stands for JTISA is an acronym which is in Bahasa Malaysia, the Malay language. But in English we call it, I can't say it into English, it is Public Sector ICT Technical Committee, which is a governing authority to assess and approve all ICT projects, to assess and approve an ICT project as critical and high impact. Now, this particular JT subcommittee is a final approval authority to decide on whether any ICT projects meant for the public sector, does it get the go ahead or not. Now, when it comes to what we have included is this particular JT subcommittee for all ICT projects which are development in nature, we will assess to see whether it is a critical or a high impact or a very complex project, and then decide and give the approval for a third-party testing. Yeah? And we go and the process, it is a two-stage process. The first stage is, if you are going to procure for next year, this year, agencies that intend to embark on any new ICT project, they have to apply to the Economic Planning Unit, now it's called Economic Affairs Ministry. They have to apply to, they have to make a bidding. So when these projects are sent to EPU collects all ICT projects which are developed in all ICT projects, and then send it to Mampu. The first stage at Mampu is we will then go through one by one all these ICT projects that have been sent to EPU, and we will then shortlist what are the projects that are truly needed. Okay? So that's the shortlisting process. Now what we have done is, beginning this year, in fact we did it in last April, we have also identified for each one of these ICT projects, which is development in nature, what are the projects that needs IVV. So we have done that, and that is going to be embedded into the whole ecosystem of ICT procurement. And secondly, once we have our budget speech on the 2nd of November, and during that speech, they will know which are the projects submitted by the agencies that got approval. They will get the budget. So then they go on. Once they know that their projects are approved, then they go to the details of coming out the project. Then they will have to come back to Mampu again to ask for the final approval. They will have all the technical details. And there's another stage where Mampu will then decide whether do you need to do third-party testing. Okay? So these are the things that Mampu is doing. Now, I'm sure you would like to know the statistics on IVV projects in the public sector. We started off in 2017. In 2017 we had 2 IVV projects which were tendered out as separate tenders. And for this year, 2 IVV projects that we tendered out as sub of main development tenders. And for next year, through the exercise that we had, we have identified 9 IVV projects that we tendered out, subject to budget approval. Right? So Mampu has given the go-ahead for 9 projects. Now you find that 2017-2018 was through because we were trying to set the infrastructure right, the process right, getting the agencies initiated into what IVV is all about. Now we have got the book in place, we have got the circular in place, we have got the industry that is slowly warming up to these projects. So for 2019, we are looking at a minimum of 9 projects, but don't ask me what is the cost. I'm not at liberty to reveal to you what is the cost, but definitely there's an exponential increase. So if we do it right, 9, and I would think that in 2020, it will definitely go into double-digit figures, but I don't know how many it's going to be, but definitely once the government sees value in this, it will take on its own momentum. Right? That's the way we look at it. Eh? I finished that one. And to show how serious the government is about implementing IVV, Mampu, as I said, as a central agency, we have already set up a committee chaired by the Deputy Director General, who is my immediate boss. This committee will serve to discuss and approve strategy and direction of MyTCOE. And secondly, it will monitor the implementation of activities planned under MyTCOE. And it will also monitor and resolve issues and to endorse approve procedures, guidelines, resources, activities, and programs related to MyTCOE, and to ensure MyTCOE implementation is aligned with my MSE initiative. Now, the purpose of setting up the overriding objective of this setting up of this committee headed by the Deputy General is to ensure that whatever programs that every year we have got plans, and these plans are monitored. Monitored and intervention takes place so that we achieve what we set out to do. Right now there is no committee, and so we have just set up a committee, and the first meeting is scheduled for sometime in October. So to conclude, the public sector is very committed to continue to support the IVV initiatives in positioning the Malaysian IVV industry at the international level by, firstly, we have set up the MSTH program, which is already in operation. I highlighted to you all the QCAP program, the Q industry program, the Q lab, the Q portal, and the QCOE program. Secondly, I also emphasized the seriousness of the government by highlighting to you that in the 11th Malaysia Plan, it is clearly stated there that this is one industry that the government wants to encourage. And thirdly, I also highlighted the strategies that has been put in place, which is in motion now. The four strategies, that is, firstly, the high value services at lower cost, developing the local market, raising the local flagship companies, and to build the talent pool. And finally, the involvement of what Mampu is doing as a central agency in the Malaysian IVV industry initiatives. Thank you very much.